Hello everyone, my name is Christina and I'm a medical student studying at Newcastle University, and in this video I wanted to give you guys pretty much an overview of what it's like to study at Newcastle Medical School. So in this video I'm going to be giving you guys an overview of our timetable, what a week looks like, what type of exams we have, assignments, the social side of things, just what things are like in general at our medical school. So I really wanted to be completely open and honest with you guys in terms of how we're taught and how things are at the medical school. So I'm going to be giving you guys a bunch of positive things about the medical school, but some of the not so good things as well. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy this video. It's going to be super duper honest and open, what it's really like to study at Newcastle Medical School. So starting off with the main way that we are taught at Newcastle Medical School, we learn by case-based learning. Out of traditional, integrated and PBL, I think CBL, which is case-based learning, that kind of comes under the category of integrated, and it's not that popular. Not many medical schools use it, but honestly I think more of them should. So the way case-based learning works is that we have 13 cases in year one, and each case is pretty much just kind of a story or a bit of like information about a patient or two. So for example, in case 6 we learned about a little boy with asthma, and it kind of just painted the picture of this little boy has been playing some sport at school, but he's struggling now because he's got breathing problems. He goes to the GP and the GP tells him that he's got asthma, and these are some of the tests that he does, for example the peak flow test. And we also learned about another patient who was a bit older. I can't remember exactly the details, but this patient had COPD and they had also some breathing problems, and pretty much that case paints the picture for everything that we're going to learn over the next few weeks. So in our lectures we learn all about the physiology of the lungs, the anatomy of the lungs. We learn about the different pathologies that happen with the respiratory system, and in our anatomy sessions they were pretty much all based on and focused around the lungs and the respiratory system. In our clinical skills session we also learn how to assess someone's lungs, have a listen to their breathing, have a feel of if their chest is expanding in the right in the proper way and stuff. So we pretty much learn every single aspect of medicine surrounding that organ system. So every single case 1 to 13, will be based on a different area of medicine. So for example, it could be the heart, cardiovascular system, or it could be the GI tract, or it could be hormones, so endocrinology, it could be genetics. And when we learn that case, we pretty much touch lots of different areas of medicine in that area. I love CBL because it means that you get a really good overview of everything in that field of medicine. So rather than just being taught like a bunch of physiology of from lots of different areas of medicine, and you have to piece together the physiology and the anatomy, you have to like make sense of everything. I like how for us it's pretty much already done for you. So when we did case 8, that was all about skin and eczema, psoriasis, skin cancers and stuff. We pretty much learned lots of different skin diseases all at once. So we did all the physiology, the pathology and the anatomy as well. And I just think it makes a lot more sense when you kind of touch all bases in a certain area and then you touch all bases in another area. I just think it makes a lot more sense, and I think it prepares you for actual life as a doctor. I think it just paints a really good picture of that certain medical disease or that medical illness, because you've learned pretty much all the different areas surrounding that organ system or that area of medicine. So then when you get a patient with that illness, you just have a really good idea of all the different things surrounding it. I hope this makes sense, but pretty much each case is about a certain organ system. It's normally like a little story about a patient, and then that's just literally the springboard for everything that we'll learn. So at Newcastle Medical School we also have some amazing facilities. So I first came to Newcastle in year 12 on an open day, and it really stood out to me because of the facilities that we had. So we have some amazing lecture theatres, a great clinical skills lab. We have a dissection room where we learn anatomy, which I'm going to talk about a bit more later. We also have a bunch of libraries as well. I went to quite a few universities during year 12, like during the open day season. I remember I went to Plymouth, Hull York, I think Manchester, I think Sunderland, I went to Kiel. I went to like a bunch of universities or like medical schools, and Newcastle genuinely stood out to me. I'm not just saying this because I'm here now, but it really did. It's quite modern as well, so I like the fact that our facilities are quite up to date, and yeah, it's just quite a nice environment in terms of our learning. We have a library that is dedicated to medical students in the medical building. Our facilities are absolutely amazing. That is definitely something that I think is a bonus for studying at Newcastle Medical School. So moving on to anatomy, we learn anatomy via Prosection at Newcastle. So most medical schools will either teach you anatomy via full body dissection or Prosection, and then some medical schools use like technology, so like models, really fancy like modeling and stuff. But we learn via Prosection, which is pretty much when you learn about, for example, the kidneys. We had the kidneys already cut up for us to look at. The different structures that surround the kidneys, we could also see that as well, because pretty much we don't have to have a full cadaver. A cadaver is kind of a deceased person who has donated their body to science so that medical students or researchers can use it to learn. So yeah, we don't have a full cadaver already there for us to dissect and look at. We just have different parts of the body already cut up for us. And I actually love this method of learning. I think it's much better than full body dissection because I think it's just a lot easier to learn when you've got just the little part of the body that you're learning about, and you can really take your time and learn the structures in that structure, and you don't have to worry about everything else. When we learned about the lungs, we had like lungs cut up for us to look at. We could like have a feel of them, have a look at the hilum, and have a look at the different structures in there, see where the pulmonary arteries were, see where all the veins were. We could see like the bronchi and stuff. It was just really, really easy to learn because it was like you just have that structure to look at. You don't have the full body there. So yeah, I guess this is a personal preference, but I love prosection personally. We also have some incredible anatomy teachers at Newcastle. So when you go into the dissection room, you'll have to wear a lab coat. So I'll show you guys mine. It looks a bit like this. This is what my one looks like, but it pretty much has Newcastle Uni on it. And so you can wear pretty much normal clothes underneath your lab coat. You just have to wear this on top. And pretty much you're also not allowed to carry in your phone. So because you're going to be looking at cadavers, people who have donated their bodies, part of the Human Tissue Act is that you don't have any mobile phones on you or any smart devices. So yeah, you go in normal clothes, wear a lab coat. You also wear like disposable gloves. You normally learn anatomy with your seminar group. In your seminar group, roughly 10 to 15 people, and then you'll also have and your seminar group is randomly allocated. So your seminar group is who you have clinical skills with, seminars with obviously, and also anatomy. But yeah, when you go in for anatomy, you'll be greeted by normally one teacher per seminar group, and that changes all the time. So yeah, you'll be able to be taught by lots of different people, and our anatomy teachers are always fantastic. Like I've never had a problem with learning anatomy. They're always able to answer our questions and just sometimes anatomy lectures can be really intense because there's so much going on, but in anatomy sessions, I always find that things make so much more sense. So yeah, anatomy is one of my favorite things just in general about Newcastle and Newcastle Medical School. So our timetable during Freshers Week, so at the very start, it was quite busy. It was like Monday to Friday was mostly 9 to 5. I'll put pictures on the screen of my Freshers Week timetable, but I don't actually have my normal timetable because I'm now in year 2, so my year 1 timetable has been like deleted. I think it's gone. I tried to find some pictures of my old timetable, but I couldn't find any. But normally, after Freshers Week had died down like a month into uni, our timetable was then like Monday and Friday were quite busy. We'd have like a lot of lectures, maybe a seminar, maybe some anatomy, and then middle of the week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday was a lot less busy. So we'd have maybe like 1 or 2 lectures, maybe 1 seminar. As time goes on, it's going to change so that instead of it being busy Monday to Friday, it's only going to be busy Monday and Friday, and then in the middle of the week it's going to be a lot more chill. So another great thing about Newcastle Med School is that you have early clinical contact. So in year 1, you are pretty much going to be seeing patients from as early as 6 to 8 weeks from starting the course. So I remember that I think I had my first placement roughly 2 months after I started. I was like seeing patients for the first time, and by your first placement you would have learned I think a couple of clinical skills. So I think I learned the cardiovascular OSCE, so how to assess someone with heart problems, or just how to assess if someone's heart is working okay. So yeah, that was really cool to be able to see patients so early on. It's such a nice feeling to be able to see patients because you're going to be spending so long in lectures. You'll want to see patients at some point. You're going to be in lectures all the time. You'll just want something different. Being able to see patients helps so much because you're learning so much in lectures, and sometimes it's difficult to think, how will this apply to a patient, or how do I actually apply this all together? How do I tie things together and stuff? So when you eventually get to go into placement, it's so nice to be able to practice your OSCEs because you get to practice them on each other, so other medical students. But obviously you're all fit and well, and when you're listening to someone's heart who's healthy, it sounds very different to someone's heart who is unhealthy. So when you get to go on placement, it's so nice to be able to tie in everything that you've learned. At Newcastle, we call our placement ECCEs. So ECCE stands for Early Clinical and Community Experience. So if I alternate between saying placement and ECCE, it's just because they're the same thing. So yeah, we don't always have an ECCE with every single case. So there's 13 cases, but we didn't have 13 ECCEs. I think we should have had 5, but because of like lockdown and everything, we only had 4. But yeah, if you're in the middle of a respiratory case, you'll tend to go to a respiratory ward on your placement. So that means that when you're learning like the respiratory stuff, you're able to kind of tie in everything you've learned onto respiratory patients, which is quite nice. So moving on to exams, I can only speak for first year in terms of exams because I'm not quite sure how things are going to change in year 2. I know my exams are going to be in a similar format, but yeah, for year 1, your exams are going to be you're going to have 3 different points in the year when you're going to be assessed. So you'll have October, January and May exams. In October, you're only going to have one, which is an SBA. This stands for single best answer, and it's pretty much just 150 multiple choice questions. In January, you're going to have 2 exams, which is an SBA and an SAP. SAP stands for short answer paper, and it's pretty much just you get a bunch of questions ranging from like 1 mark to 5 marks, and it's just like you have to write out physical answers. So the SBA is like a multiple choice, you just pick, you know, A, B, C or D. And then the SAP is like you actually have to write out the answer. The SAP paper tends to be more of the social science side of medicine. And then your last exams in May will be an SAP, an SBA and an OSCE. So for my year, we didn't have the May exams, we just had an online one. So I'm not quite sure how this will change in the future, but yeah, that is how it would normally look like. In terms of our assignments, we had 3 assignments in first year, but in year 1, we had 1 assignment in October, which was a leaflet. We had a list given to us of a list of diseases, and we could pick one disease and we had to make a leaflet based on that disease, kind of just talking about what the disease was, what the treatment for it was and stuff like that. Our second assignment in December was we had to make a PowerPoint about something that we'd found interesting since we started the course, and yeah, it had to be 7 minutes long. We had 3 minutes of questions afterwards, and then yeah, you just did that to like a small group of people, I think like 10 to 12 people. And then in March, our last assignment, this was an essay that we had to write about lots of different things in the kind of social science side of medicine, and we had to relate it to a lot of the different patients that we'd seen on our ECCIs as well. And I think that essay was like a few thousand words, so yeah, it wasn't too bad. We had loads of time to prepare for all of these assignments. So I did want to quickly mention just the topic of feedback, because this is something that I didn't going into medicine from A-level, this was something that took me a bit of time to adjust to. So when you're studying at school or college, I think you're quite used to having your teachers tell you like, you know, Christina, you need to work on this, or, you know, Christina, you need to make sure that you improve on this and stuff like that. You do have to be proactive in terms of getting feedback and just taking it upon yourself and being independent and finding out, you know, what your weaknesses are and what you can do to improve. I think in the first few weeks, you will figure out like which lecturers to go up to, or, you know, when to speak to your supervisor when you need help and stuff like that. You do get a supervisor as well, so they're always there if you want to turn to them. But so yeah, going from A-levels to medicine is a bit of a jump, and I think it took some time for me to get used to, but I'm definitely more proactive now in terms of finding out what I need to work on and where I can improve. So yeah, that is something to keep in mind as well. I think if you're an A-level student going into medicine, that will take some time to adjust, but yeah, it's definitely something that you can do. With our exams also, we do get like a traffic light system, so we get given our result online, and they don't just tell you like you passed or you failed, they tell you what percentage you got, where in the year group you rank as well. So if there's 300 people and you were like number 100, so that means that like if you put everyone in a line like best to worst, you'd be like 100 in that line, if that makes sense. And they also give you a traffic light system, so all the different topics that were assessed, they'll tell you that you were amber on this topic or green on this topic and stuff like that. So so after an exam, you always do have a clear idea of how well you did, not just in terms of pass fail, but your percentage, where in the year group you rank, and what topics you did well on as well. And that's the same with assignments. So you do get some feedback on your assignments in terms of this leaflet was really good, you included good references, or your presentation was really good, but it wasn't long enough and stuff like that. So you do have a good idea of how well you did in assignments too. So moving on to the more social side of things, I think I've given you guys hopefully a good overview of the academic side of things and lectures and our timetable and stuff like that and exams. So in terms of the social side, we have an amazing MedSoc at Newcastle Medical School. MedSoc just stands for Medical Society, and this is the society where all medical students join. Really, it's pretty much the society for medical students, just like you'd have like a law society or an engineering society. This is like the medical one. What I love about our MedSoc is that it's very active. I know a lot of medical schools that don't have active MedSocs, but ours definitely is. During Freshers Week, we had a bunch of socials. We had a bunch of bar crawls as well, which were always fun. I think they do a lot of events during Freshers Week to try and get everyone out and to try and get everyone to meet new people and stuff. But even like throughout the year, there were loads of events as well. We had like the Christmas ball, I think we were meant to have a summer ball, but it got cancelled. And we also had like a boat party, I think in like January time, March time, I can't remember. We also have a bunch of other events going on. There's obviously other medical societies, for example, orthopedics, surgery, pediatrics, GP and stuff like that. But this is kind of like the more social one. So there are academic medical societies, but this is just like the social one. But yeah, our MedSoc is very active, which I don't think is the case for other medical schools. So keep that in mind if you're someone who does enjoy like going out and stuff. Another great thing about our medical school in terms of like the social side of things is that you're always meeting new people. So because our year group is so huge, we have, as I said, over 300 people. There were so many points during first year where I was meeting new people because I'd maybe go on a placement or maybe go to an event and I'd be like, oh, you're a first year doing medicine, I've never seen you before. And that happened so many times. So you're always going to be meeting new people because there are just so many of us in first year and in all the year groups really. There are so many medical students. So if you're someone who comes from like a big city, maybe a big year group as well, then I definitely think you'd like Newcastle because we just have so many people here. So another great thing about Newcastle Medical School obviously is the city. Newcastle is an absolutely stunning and amazing city. We have so much to do, from clubs, socials, restaurants, cinemas, just activities, mini golf. We have an amazing O2 Academy where you can go and watch live concerts and stuff. So there's so much going on. If you're definitely like a social butterfly and stuff like that, then I think Newcastle would be a great city for you. Also, if you're a big fan of Greggs, then like I'm pretty sure Newcastle is the capital of the UK in terms of the number of Greggs that we have. So that's worth keeping in mind. If you're a first year that's going to be studying at Newcastle, then you should definitely check out Parkview. Parkview is pretty much just one of the university's accommodation, but it's literally next door to the medical school. So I unfortunately didn't get into Parkview because I think it's like quite popular. Lots of people want to go there, but it's literally like 5 minutes, if not less than that, from the medical school. So you can literally like roll out of bed, quickly get dressed and then be on time for lectures, and I would still be like getting ready, walking there and stuff like that. So, and it's really modern. Parkview is like, it's brand new, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, it's such a nice accommodation. Another thing in terms of like having a jump between A-levels and medicine is that you might be used to going to all your lessons during A-levels and then studying all that material and then being able to do really well in exams. At university it's a bit different because you do have to do a bit of wider reading in terms of you do have to do a bit of wider reading if you want to do well in your exams. When I did my October exam, my very first one, I remember thinking like, how has that happened? I went to all the lectures and stuff, but I think part of university life and medical school life is just that you do have to incorporate a bit of independent study and wider reading in your just in your studying in general if you want to do really, really well. In my January exams, I noticed that I did a lot better because I did a bunch of wider reading. And so yeah, I didn't do absolutely loads of wider reading, but it was just like after every lecture, I'd try and find out, is there anything missing? Is there anything that wasn't covered? I'd just try and do a bit more. And I think that's something that maybe you didn't do at A-level because you didn't need to, but at university or just in medicine, I think that is something that you need to get in the habit of. So yeah, that was just part of the learning curve, I think. I think part of university life in general is just that you have to do a bit of wider reading. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that as well. Thankfully for you guys though, I made a whole entire video on some different medical school resources. So if you're studying at Newcastle, then these might be very helpful for you because obviously I'm a student at Newcastle and these are some of the resources that I found really, really helpful in terms of helping me do wider reading and to do well on my exams. One of my favourite things about Newcastle Medical School is that they give you medic parents. So when you first join in year one, I think to help you settle in, the medical school gives you some parents who are other medical students. They've just finished year one and going into year two. So when you show up as a first year medical student, they'll be a second year, and pretty much their job is just to help you answer all your questions. You meet up with them a couple of times in first year. I think I met with my medic parents like 2 or 3 times, and they just become your friends basically. You can ask them for help whenever you need it, ask them for tips on revising, you know, how to study for certain things. Literally just ask them any questions. And I mentioned this in my tips for first year medics video, but making friends with people in older year groups is absolutely like essential. It's so helpful. They have so much knowledge to give you guys, and they've made all the mistakes that you're probably going to make so they can help you not make them. It's so good to be friends with people in above year groups. So at Newcastle, they make it super easy for you. They pretty much just give you some people in the above year group who want to help you and answer all your questions. So yeah, having medic parents made first year so much more easy for me. And last but not least, I did want to mention this because I know that so many people on Instagram reach out to me asking about this question or asking about this topic. So I did want to mention it in this video. But the diversity at Newcastle medical school isn't the best, and I think this is something that they are trying to improve on. They are putting things into place to kind of improve things. For example, over the summer, because of the events that happened, they have introduced a BAME forum, which is pretty much just a platform for Black and minority ethnic students to talk about the issues, concerns, ideas, and things that we want to suggest to the medical school in terms of how they can improve things. So I remember I took part in this, and I had a conversation with a bunch of other students about how we felt about our learning and teaching, and if there's anything that we could improve on, and that was really helpful. I do think they're going to take actionable steps to improve things next year and the year after. Hopefully for you guys watching, if you're watching in year 12, 13, by the time you guys get here, things will have improved. So for example, just to explain like some of the things that they're going to improve on, when we learned about case 8 is all about skin diseases. I think I mentioned it's all about eczema, psoriasis, so obviously like rashes on the skin. But when we went to lectures and stuff, all the pictures were on like people who were like pale, like white people. But we brought this up in the BAME forum, and they said that they're gonna include pictures of people with darker skin, people who have different types of skin. So going forward in the next few years, they are going to improve on this, and they're going to include pictures of people with darker skin, people from Asian backgrounds, Black backgrounds, so that as medical students, we know how to diagnose these issues and skin diseases on people of all different skin colors and skin types. So I think this is amazing. I'm glad that they've done this. So yeah, if you are worried about the diversity at Newcastle Medical School, I'd say don't worry about it too much. It's difficult. I don't have any stats. I wish I did, because I know a lot of people ask me about this, so I know it's like something people want to know. The university as a whole is trying to improve things as well, so they've introduced this social justice page on their website, which is pretty much showcasing what they plan to do and some of the things that they're working on in terms of making the university more inclusive and more diverse. So I do have hope that things are going to improve in the future. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope I touched on pretty much everything. I didn't want to leave anything out. I wanted to touch on like social life, academics, timetable, accommodation, just everything. So hopefully I've given you guys a good idea of what it's like to study at Newcastle Medical School. I'm actually moving to uni this week, so I'm going to be filming a bunch of day in the life videos, week in the life videos and stuff like that. So make sure you stay tuned for that, and make sure you subscribe. Don't hesitate to comment down below any questions that you have. I always reply to everyone's comments, or feel free to DM me on Instagram or Twitter or anything like that. I love getting messages from you guys, so don't hesitate to ask me anything over there. And yeah, I really hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!